These Cooper's kits are an easy and great way to start home brewing or to make a quick home brew batch. They're referred to as the kit and kilo, and what that means is, this can comes with a bunch of fermentables. It's a pre-hopped liquid malt extract in here. In this case, it's designed for this recipe of an Australian pale ale. This comes with Cooper's yeast to make the kit, and just the fermentable. So what you'll need is the other kilo of fermentables, referred to as the kit and kilo. So the recipe for this can recommends using the Cooper's Brew Enhancer 2. What that is, that's about 500 grams of dextrose or corn sugar and 500 grams of light malt extract. I don't have the Brew Enhancer 2, but I did go ahead and pick up some. This was 1 kilo of light malt extract. I had to use about 150 grams out of this to bottle another beer I made. So this is about 150 grams short of the kilo. If this was a kilo, I would have been perfectly fine using this and this to make the beer. Since I'm a little short and I don't have any dextrose or corn sugar on me, I'm just going to add a little bit of regular table sugar, which is fine. So I'm only going to be using probably about 150-200 grams of table sugar, and this will work out absolutely fine. The other thing you'll need is just a good tasting water. So if you like your tap water and you can drink it no problem, then it's totally acceptable for brewing. Our tap water here is fine, so I can just go ahead and use our tap water. If not, you can just get bottled water or some other type of water. In this case, you're not worried about any pH levels or anything. It's just more about what it's going to taste like. This kit, the recipe will make 6 gallons or 23 liters of about 4.5% alcohol. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end up making 5 gallons, so and use just as much fermentables in it, but just probably go 5.5 gallons of liquid, which will kind of increase the ABV to 5 to 5.1%. You can do whatever you feel like and make it the way you're supposed to, which is fine. And if this is your first time making one of these kits, Cooper's makes a DIY kit. It comes with a fermenter, bottles, all the measuring tools you need. It comes with your first fermentables. Essentially everything you need to make your first batch of beer comes with this DIY kit. That's the first kit I bought and used the first time I brewed, and then the fermenter that came with that kit, I've pretty much used it for the last 10 years and will be using it for this batch as well. This kit, I meant to brew it a little while ago. So if it's an older kit, you might want to get just a fresh pack of yeast. In this case, I just happen to have a Sapphire US 05, which is a very clean, neutral ale yeast. So basically what I'm going to do is, just because I probably should have brewed this over 6 months ago, I'm just going to use both yeast in here, and shouldn't be any problem. But if you buy one of these kits new, all you need is the Cooper's yeast. So the next step is take the label off the can, and since this liquid malt extract is very thick and sticky, I'm boiling a pot of water to kind of let this sit in for a bit to make it a little bit more runny. Be careful not to burn yourself. Make sure you have some oven mitts or some special gloves to handle it when you open it up. And I also put about 2 to 3 liters of water to another pot. I'm going to bring to a boil. And the purpose of this is basically I'm going to just do a little, probably 1 or 2 minute boil with the the light dry malt extract and the sugar added. So there's a kilogram of sugar, dry malt extract and sugar here. So basically, I'm just going to boil it for a minute or two really quickly to get it all incorporated, and then we're going to put it into the fermenter. So these are at a boil now, or pretty much at a boil. So we're going to take them off the elements for the next step. So now be very careful. This is boiling hot water, so be very careful here. So I'm going to take the can of Cooper's, and I'm going to gently place it in this pot. I'm just going to let it sit there for a bit to loosen up the liquid malt extract. And now for the dry malt extract and sugar, I'm just going to pour it in to this water to incorporate. If you buy if you have the Cooper's Brew Enhancer 2, you don't need to do this step. You can just add it, cut open the package and add it as per instructions. And so mix this in. Now just stir this wort mixture until it's incorporated. Once it's dissolved, you can put it back in the burner just to bring it back to a boil to just sterilize it a little bit. So the wort is pretty much at a boil right now. I'm satisfied that enough of the bacteria has been killed, that it's good enough for me. Now, what you want to do is have your kit sanitized in advance. So I've already washed and sanitized my Cooper's fermenter for this. If you want to see a video on how to clean and sanitize properly, click the video up here somewhere. And I also made a little basket of sanitizer, because everything that touches this now, you want to make sure it's completely sterile or sanitized. So we'll want to mix it in a minute, so I'm going to put this spoon in the sanitizer. So now I'm going to dump in this wort into this fermenter, and I'm not going to raise it up here for the camera because I'm too worried about spilling and burning myself, so I'll do it lower. Bring it back up, and you want to make sure your spigot's closed, or else everything's gonna go pouring all over the floor. And now we'll put the rest of the Cooper's kit in. very hot, so be careful. Once you've opened it up, you want to just pour it into the fermenter. You'll try and get out as much as you can. If you have a kettle, you can just get some hot water, pour it in. Just grab some hot water, boil it really quickly, put it in. Take a sanitized spoon, give it a good stir. Dump it in without burning yourself. That's good enough. And now take your sanitized spoon. You want to give it a good mix, make sure it's all incorporated nicely. Now I'm going to use the pot where I boiled the dry malt extract in. I'm just going to fill that with cold water, and since it's already been sterilized by the boiling water, I'm going to fill it up to probably about 20, maybe 21 liters. That should give me about roughly a 5% beer probably, so I'll be happy with that. Or you can go to the full 23 liters per the kit to get more of a 4.5% beer, and that's up to you. So you take your cold water and just dump it in. You want to try and get this close to 20-21 degrees as possible. Our tap water is actually very cold right now, given it's winter time. So I'm confident. Right now the temperature is probably about 33 on there, so I'm hoping by the time we get up to here, temperature's in the 20 range. If you get a little too cold, you can always put hot water in here. But the ideal, you basically want it between maybe around 20, 21, 22. Not a big deal if it's in that range. Temperature for when you add the yeast. If it's too hot, you're going to kill the yeast. So you definitely want to make sure it's below, I think, about 26 degrees. Like anything above that, you're probably just going to kill your yeast. For best flavors, you want to get to the lower end of about 20, 21 degrees Celsius. So I'll keep filling it up with this pot and the tap, and we'll come back once we get to the total volume. Okay, things don't always go the way you planned. I guess I probably boiled a little too much water for that wort when I put it in, so it was pretty hot, and even the cold water, during winter, wasn't cold enough to bring this down to the right temperature I wanted. It's probably right at 20, 27, which is probably just on the high end of what I want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait, let this sit overnight, and probably let it drop down a few more degrees, and pitch the yeast in the morning. So there's no panic here. Also, I tried to compensate. I put it up to the 23 liter mark, even though I was planning to do less. I was trying to get the temperature down, but sometimes that's just the way it goes, and not a big deal. And yeah, so leave this overnight. It's gonna be perfectly fine. Make sure you keep it out of sunlight. So I'm gonna put it in my basement and a nice cool spot. Try and let it cool down a bit, and we'll pitch the yeast in the morning, hopefully. Okay, I let this sit overnight. Temperature has come down to probably about 22 degrees, so that's cool enough for me to add the yeast. I have opened both packs of yeast, US 05 and the Cooper's yeast, and just sprinkle it on top. Put the lid back on. And we'll let that sit for 2 weeks. There's about 2 days after adding the yeast. A little bit of activity, maybe a little less than I expected, but I'm not too worried. Looks like the temperature is about 20 degrees. If it keeps dropping, I might add a heat belt onto it. We'll see. Not 100% sure. We'll wait for that to happen before I make that decision. So far, I think it's looking okay. We'll check back again later. All right, it's finally time to drink this Cooper's Australian Pale Ale beer. Here we go. It's a very clear beer. Look, a little amber color. You can smell some hops. It's a really easy, delicious home brew you can make. Cheers.